Hi everybody, we're here again. It feels like it's another instalment of the Chuckle Brother twins, but we're here to talk about the updated Succeed strategy ready for the children's return to school. Okay, so hopefully you'll find this a lot simpler this time because we've been through it before. It's very simple, and obviously there's less to catch up this time because the children at home and the children at school have actually still been following the curriculum throughout this time. So it's more going to be revisiting gaps and going over learning rather than lots of new learning that we had to catch up last time. So just like last time, if we start thinking with our non-core subjects, okay, these have been covered in school and through remote learning, but what we are conscious of is the children at home may not have done this in as much detail, or they may need a bit more support. So what we've done through the events calendar and through the Succeed strategy is we've allocated 2 super learning days, okay? And these are Friday the 12th of March and Friday the 19th of March, okay? The first one on the 12th of March is ever so slightly different than last time, because what we realise is, particularly for some of those children at home, you might need to teach some of these bits before you move on. Okay, so for the purpose of these days, and you can see your units of work there, so for example year 3 is ancient Greece, textiles, plants, and the RE unit. You can only focus on your knowledge organizer. Okay, so don't get too hung up on the progression document. Okay, we're having to prioritise at this time, and the government are very clear about catch up, but we're in a situation where we've done so much work on the curriculum and we're really getting it going that we don't just want to say we're not going to come back to it. So we are going to focus on it, but we've got to just strip it back a little bit. So on that first day, you're going to go through your units, focus on the ones that you think you're going to need to the most, and you're going to reteach some of those key objectives or key knowledge, okay? And then on the 19th of March, that will be a normal knowledge day like we've done before. So you'll be doing your LBQs from your previous units of work that you've done through the year, and also your presentations to each other. And there, it might be useful to buddy up children who have been at home with children who've been in school just for that extra support, okay? So all your units of work are there. Also, with your art and DT, obviously, you're not going to be able to go through the whole process in a day, learning about the artist, learning all your skills and developing a final piece. So for the purposes of this, our real focus is on the artist, okay, or the designer, and then practicing the skill, okay, because we can always come back to developing a final piece at another time. It's the skill that's important, because that's what we're going to need as we move through the curriculum, okay, so don't worry too much about your final piece. Next, very similar to last time, what Andy and I have done is had a look at the weeks, because what we're really conscious of is that you don't want to be overwhelmed with what you've got to fit in this amount of time, and we want to make it manageable. So we've set out week by week all the things that you need to do. So week 1 is the first week the children are back, okay? So we're calling that week 1 just for simplicity. So you're going to cover everything you did as last time. You're settling in, your attitude, your behaviour, your routines, going over all those things, okay? Supporting any children if, you know, they've had difficulties at home in the lockdown, and identifying those and referring them where necessary. You're going to do your class book and your independent read. Basic skills, this is just like last time. We're going to go back to those presentation expectations. We're going to be going over our number work, our basic grammar. We're going to be doing that morning and afternoon, okay, to really get them back into that routine. Our handwriting is going to be daily again, okay, because whilst they've engaged in some work, you know, it won't be to the same level of stamina that they have before, and handwriting presentation will probably have slipped a little bit. Phonics is going to continue, okay, and they will be in the groups that they were in, that they were allocated before Christmas, okay, because they've still been carrying on with that phonics work, and then we will reassess that in testing week, okay. That is the most sensible option, really, because if we retest now, we're only going to have to retest in a few weeks, so we're going to stick with that. In terms of the maths blocks, you're going to continue to follow your lesson by lesson overview like you have been doing, okay? And then we're going to have a focus. We've made time in the day here for catch up in maths, okay? And the reason for that was in our pupil progress meetings in autumn in both schools, what we found was the difficulties for most children, the catch up was with the maths, okay? The reading was coming along and the writing, there's plenty of opportunity to practice those writing skills, but the maths needs that specific teaching and catching up, okay? So So we've allocated time for that, and Andy will discuss exactly how that's going to look a little bit later on. Okay, you're going to start your English unit of work. Okay, Grammar Hammer you're going to get going with, and there will be a new video out next week just to explain. It's not really changed, but it just looks a little bit different and a bit more user friendly. So you'll get a video about that, and you're going to start your guided reading cycle as normal because we want to get back into that. Okay, and don't forget you've got your knowledge day there as well. In week 2, so you're going to be doing all the things, carrying on with those things that you've been doing in week 1. You're going to have catch-up maths afternoon sessions continuing because that's our real focus. You're going to do your class book daily, spelling daily, extended write weekly will start, and then the focus of this week is to teach your new science unit. Okay, so you've only got this week to do that. Okay, so again, that should be easier now because the curriculum is really focused. You've got your knowledge organisers and you should be able to get that done. And the way we've structured the strategy is so that you've got that dedicated time to do that. And then your handwriting can go to twice weekly, but obviously if you've got children who you think need to do more of that, then they're going to continue with that daily. Okay. As we move into week 3, it's similar to week 2, but it is testing week. Okay, so you're going to continue with your maths, English, and reading as normal because it's really important we don't slip behind with those. But within that, you're going to fit in your testing. Okay, and then by the time you've done that, there'll be a little bit of time left for some shorter burst sessions where you can focus on your Spanish unit. Okay, because what we're conscious of is we've kind of made a start with that. We did the songs in the autumn. We need to get going and continue that momentum with that. Otherwise, we're going to slip back with that. Okay, and then in week 4, it's only a very short week because it leads into Easter. So you'll continue all the things that you've been doing, your maths and your English and everything. We'll have our pupil progress meetings in that week, and we can discuss key children and what we need to do moving forward and any tweaks that we need to make. And that'll be a time you can focus on your PSE units of work as well. Okay, and then it will be Easter. Okay. Just a little note that year 2, 4 and 6 did have a DT unit that they would have completed in spring 2 usually, but to try and fit that into the strategy was just too much and it wasn't going to get the sort of time it deserved. So you're going to complete that in week 1 of summer term, and you specifically in 2, 4, 6 will have a knowledge day dedicated to just that. Okay, and we'll talk to you more about when that is later in the term. And just a note on RE, okay, so the Spring 2 unit of RE is focused on Easter in each year group, okay. So because, again, we're really conscious of what we can fit in and what we can catch up, what we've decided is that if you are still struggling next week for content to teach in school, or you've covered everything, then you can touch on that unit of work with your children. However, if you don't have time for that and the children at home won't have done that, that's fine because the unit is Easter in every year group. So next year, what we will do is when it gets to this unit of work, you'll just have to revisit your previous year's work before you start your own Easter unit. But there is an overlap because it's just the development of Easter through the school. Okay.
Perfect. So I'm just going to quickly talk through the individual subjects. This document is here for you to refer to if you want more information on that. The Succeed strategy is slightly different in both Masefield and Red Lane, and the difference is this first part, which is the English units. I've spoken to every member of staff about this, and I've popped these in what we did discuss on both systems. So in the resource drive, in curriculum overviews, the Red Lane version of the Succeed strategy is here, along with this email, and at Masefield in all staff night 2021 and curriculum, the Succeed strategy is there as well. So your Spring 2 units, your English units will start from the 8th of March straight away. 3.5, 4 weeks to complete this unit. Some have got read write form, some have got a book, and I've spoken to you individually about that. As before, all resources to support you are here. And I know the English team are doing a bit of work around the procedures in writing, reading and Grammar Hammer, and I know over the next few weeks they'll be discussing that with you. If you want reference to books again, it is here. Anything new that we have spoken about since the beginning of the term, I have put in red in this document. So for instance, there is a grammar knowledge organizer, which will be going into your skills book, but the English team will discuss that in their video next week. It'll be really useful for the children as well. I know they've tried it in their classes and already, and you can see how supportive that is. So as before, I have put the skills and sentence types. Now, at the beginning of the year, because of so much time, we did say that these skills had to be met. Now, you'll see this time that it may need to be met. Now, we're not saying that all of these skills, because of time, will have to be revisited and retaught, because a lot of them we will have done in the autumn term. However, this is a really useful document. I know, speaking to staff, they have been using this to support the explicit teaching of grammar, punctuation and spelling, and also word and sentence level work. So again, I've left this in there for you if you want within your English units to pop in those extra lessons to teach those specific skills, because it's likely that when you do start teaching an English unit, you've realised that they've forgotten to use apostrophes accurately or inverted commas, etc. So that information is here for you. But as before, it's only may need to be. There's not an expectation that we'll see all of these, but it's likely we will see some of them. Just put that in yellow as well. They will be taught in extended right as well. So on to maths, and maths, like Rhiannon said, is the one that's going to be the biggest focus over these next 3.5, 4 weeks. As Rhiannon mentioned, it's to do with the pupil progress, and also with maths, there's some missed content that hasn't been taught, and if it's not revisited, it's likely that it won't be taught again until next year. So what we have done, along with the maths leads, is we've looked at the 6 most important objectives from spring term. These are the 6 key areas that we need to revisit in those catch-up sessions, which are likely to be in the afternoons over the next 3.5 weeks. What we've done is down here popped in those 6 objectives for each year group. Now you can see some of them are as learning objectives, some of them are just as areas of learning. So for instance, if I go to year 3, it's really important that you consolidate those 2, 4, 8 times tables. Now the children in school will have done this because in spring 1, that was part of the objective. Some of them at home will have done that. However, we know there's going to be those children at home that haven't engaged as much as others. So it's really important that over the next 3.5 weeks, all of these 6 areas for each year group are covered in these catch-up sessions. You'll see in week 1, there's no foundation subjects to be taught, so there's a lot of manoeuvre in that week to teach the catch-up sessions. Again, week 2, we've got science focus, but there still will be a little bit of time. Week 3, we've got testing weeks, so probably less time. But then in week 4, it is PSHCE for any catch-up that you do see. Again, we've referenced on here the procedures document that I know Lee and Laura went through with our new maths teaching as well, but that will stay the same because in class, the lesson by lesson overview will be used. If you want more support on this, because this is really the key area and the bit we really need to focus on, please come and speak to the maths leads on myself or Rhiannon. And everything else is as it was before. The only difference is in red, the new areas that from subject leader feedback have been given. So for instance, in science, just added is the LBQ vocabulary quizzes at the beginning of the units. Again, the pre and post learning with the mind maps, pre-learning in pencil, post-learning in pen. And that's exactly the same in geography and history. Again, art and DT. I know Clara and Jenna at respective schools have given feedback on this, and there was just a slight amendment with the date and LO in Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2. Computing, our computer science will have been completed, so that's why it wasn't on the Succeed strategy, because I know everyone's been doing it this week. If not, complete it next week, so that is completed for the term. It's something we don't have to focus on. Then on there, RE we have discussed, the only change in the LBQ quizzes. PSHC, I know Jill is doing some work on journals. She will talk about that in the near future, so don't worry too much on that. And then MFL with Spanish. I'm sure there'll be more information coming out about that for week 3 with knowledge organisers, etc. as well to support you with that. As always, if you do have any questions, please come and try and speak to us before the 8th of March. I know it's going to be a strange time getting the children back, but it's going to be an excitable time. I know we're all ready for them. It's about giving them that real holistic whole curriculum approach. That's what we truly believe in at Base. So let's really give them that so they become that rounded individual. Thank you as always.
Thank you.